Absolute carnage again in NFL survivor pools. For the second week in a row, the team with the highest spread and the highest pick popularity lost. But if you followed our advice, you should have survived once again. We'll debrief about a wild week 2 and get you ready for week 3 in NFL Survivor with 8 intriguing options coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, wow, 2 weeks in a row. We lost a lot of folks in the survivor pool, and I'm very proud that my Raiders were a big part of that. I did not expect that to happen. I admit it. Go into Baltimore against a team that looked pretty good against Kansas City and pull out the W. Okay, a lot of that was Baltimore playing poorly, but hey, the Raiders, they came through.
You know, we say anything can happen on any given Sunday, but listen to these powerhouse teams that all lost. San Francisco, Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Dallas, and almost Kansas City went down this past week, Michael.
Yeah, no, you got to love the NFL. It's one of the reasons we love it. I'm excited for this week. What do we got in store?
All right, so let's look at 8 options, and I love how all these options are so close in spreads. Let's go over them. We have 2 7.5-point favorites. San Francisco 7.5 at the LA Rams. Cincinnati's at home 7.5-point favorites over Washington. The Las Vegas Raiders, your Raiders, fresh off their win, as a touchdown favorite at home against Carolina. And then a slew of 6.5-point favorite teams. We've got Tampa Bay, 6.5 over Denver, Cleveland, New York Jets, and Seattle. All are at home, and they're 6.5-point favorites over the Giants, New England, and Miami, respectively. And Buffalo is at home, 6-point favorites over Jacksonville. Okay, Michael, the way we're going to do it this week is I don't know who you're picking, and you don't know who I'm picking. So let's first eliminate the teams that we don't want to pick, and let's see if we end up eliminating the others pick. So of these 8, which one are you absolutely have no interest in touching?
First, quick plug. Hey, folks, as a reminder, to support the show, please smash the like button, share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you haven't yet, please hit the red subscribe button. We need all the help we can get. Eric, after what we just saw the last couple of weeks, I'm scared. But the game that scares me the most is this New York Jets New England game. New England Patriots have looked, pretty good both weeks, despite having Jacoby Brissett at the quarterback position, which I think is a big part of the reason they've been able to stay in these games. Also, they have a pretty strong defense. They're healthy, as far as I can tell. I mean, relatively, with what they've had the last couple of weeks. And even though I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets seem to be clicking, and I'm really impressed with Breece Hall and this new young up and comer as well, I'm a little bit scared about this game. How about you?
Well, hey, mea culpa, I have to admit, New England is playing better ball than I thought they would. So give them the credit. Jacoby Brissett is, he's a system quarterback. It is not going to hurt you heavily. We talked about that. He's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games. But Michael, I agree with you. This is not a game I'm interested in. And you didn't say the T word. Thursday night, because of the short rest that both teams have. And admittedly, New England came off an overtime game against Seattle, so they even hurt more. But both teams are coming on short rest. Who knows what? It just makes me nervous, those Thursday games. So, and the fact that New England is playing better than I expected. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Me as well. So
all right.
Take off the grid.
Okay, so we got 7 teams left. And of those 7 teams, what's pretty cool, Michael? We've got the Raiders and the Seahawks, both of our teams who haven't been great in the past. But guess what? I'm going to eliminate one of our teams. and it's going to be mine. I am going to eliminate the Seattle Seahawks that who are 6.5-point favorites over Miami. I get it. They are 2-0, and they are hosting a 1-1 Miami team who just lost their starting quarterback. So I get it. But folks, no, just say no. I can just think about that guy in Star Wars. It's a trap. Don't fall into this trap game. First of all, Miami is better than both of the teams that Seattle has beaten, Denver and New England, even without their quarterback. And, I think Skylar Thompson is a capable backup, especially given the weapons he has. A-Chain, Hill, Waddle. These guys are so explosive that can take short passes and create long gains. And do not underestimate the fact that the Seahawks will likely not have Ken Walker the third in this game. They are a much less explosive running game with Charbonnet than Walker. For all those reasons, and I get that they have a low future value. I get that. But they may have no value after this week if they lose. So I'm passing on the Seahawks.
Yeah, and for, I guess, a lot of our viewers who are still alive, they may have already taken the Seahawks, so they might not have them available to them anyway. So I'm with you there. I do think losing two is a big deal for Miami. But hey, other options here, and I think some other good options. So let's take them off the board.
Well, let's take one other thing I wanted to add. Miami is fresher than Seattle. Miami has a mini bye. They played Thursday. And the Seahawks are coming off an overtime game this Sunday. So, yes. All right. So, Michael, you're up.
Yeah, so this next one is not because of the lack of respect for what Buffalo, has. It's because I think Jacksonville is a better team than they've been playing. And as we always say, you're picking against as much as you're picking for. And by the way, I mean, just to kind of remind folks, in week 7, you don't have a lot of great options. One of the best options is Buffalo against Tennessee. So not because I'm saving them, because I'm actually a little bit afraid. I know Jacksonville was missing Ingram. I don't actually know exactly what happened there. It sounded like it was a freak pregame situation. I don't know if that means he's out, but he could be back. ETN I think is strong, and everybody's still waiting for Trevor Lawrence to show up, and he will one of these weeks, and it could be this week. The game's in Buffalo, and Buffalo appears to be at full strength, and they use their running game really well. They looked pretty good this last week. Let's face it, they just beat the crap out of Miami, and they're also coming out of a mini bye. So I think a lot of things bode well for them. But I look at this board and I look at the teams that are against, and I think that Jacksonville is the strongest of the teams against. What do you think?
I should agree 100%. I'm not going to repeat the things that you said. So I'm out on this pick. I know that the only thing that you said that you didn't mention on the other side is Evan Ingram may be out again for Jacksonville. That hurts them, so it makes me a little bit more excited. Do I want to wait and see that news if Evan Ingram is out again? But even if Ingram is out, I'm not picking Buffalo this week. So we have 4 games, Michael, and it doesn't sound you haven't eliminated my pick, and it doesn't sound like I've eliminated yours. So let's see. Wow, it would be unbelievable if we agree, because all these games are so close. But the next one I am going to eliminate. I think we've had 2 weeks in a row where we've had the highest spread get eliminated, team lose. Well, I'm not going to say they're going to lose, but I want no part of the San Francisco 49ers this week. So I'm going to take them off the board. They're 7.5-point favorites versus the LA Rams. Look, I get it. The Rams are 0-2, and they don't have either of their top 2 wide receivers in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So I get it. I understand the incentive to say, let's take advantage of this and pick the Niners. But the Niners are missing, even though Mason has been a really nice stand-in. He is no Christian McCaffrey. So they don't have Christian McCaffrey. And now they don't have Deebo Samuels in this game. So it's a tough division game. They have to go to LA. Not that it's a long trip, but they're playing in LA. I just think you wait. You have 2 options. Option 1 is wait until later in the season when presumably McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels is ready to go, or just wait next week when they're at home against New England. Now, I just admitted that New England's better than I thought they were, but I'd rather pick the Niners when they're home against New England than playing at LA. And man, next week's going to be tough. So you might need the Niners next week. What do you think, Michael? Did I just take your pick? Did I eliminate your pick?
No, you didn't take my pick. As bad as the Rams looked against the Cardinals this last Sunday, everyone has to acknowledge that they kind of packed it in towards the end of that game. And okay, yeah, Arizona looked really good, and they didn't pack it in until they were really getting their hats handed to them. But they did pack it in. Obviously, losing Cooper Kupp early was also pretty problematic. But I'm with you here. I mean, not only the things that the Niners are losing, they're not clicking right now. I think they're going to take care of business this week in LA, and I don't think the Rams are a playoff team. But Matthew Stafford is a very capable talent, and the Niners aren't clicking. And we saw them go through a lull last season when they weren't clicking. It was kind of after 5 or 6 weeks, and I think I doomed them because I said this Niners team, who knows, they're going to lose any games, and then I lost like 3 in a row. But I'm with you here. Let's stay away from the Niners in this week 3.
Yeah, please don't say anything about the Seahawks. Please don't. And by the way, I just want to say this myself. First place Seahawks. I have to get that in because I don't know how long I'll be able to say that. So there are 3 games left. There's Cincinnati, 7.5-point favorites over Washington. Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, 7-point favorites over Carolina, and Tampa Bay 6.5 over Seattle. So you're gonna eliminate a game, but I'm gonna tell you that these were my 3 favorite games, and I have gone back and forth over the last 24 hours, but I do feel very confident in the game that I like the most. So I'll give the board to you. Let's see which one you eliminate.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to take the one off the board you like the least. It's the Cincinnati Washington game. Cincinnati looked pretty good in this game, and somehow they lost against Kansas City. And Washington looked absolutely atrocious in week 1. But Jaden Daniels is a little bit scary. Any of these quarterbacks, they can do things with their legs. The Washington defense has looked bad, but their offense, but they've been good enough to keep the teams they've been playing to field goals, at least in this last game. Not that the Giants are anyone to be impressed with. And Cincinnati, talk about not clicking. Joe Burrow's not there yet. I feel like Cincinnati did what they should have done this last week. They just didn't win the game in Kansas City against a good Kansas City team. So Cincinnati is clearly better. But guess what Cincinnati also has? You talk about waiting till next week on the Niners. Wait till next week on Cincinnati. They got Carolina next week, and they're going to win that game next week. I'm already calling my pick for next week, and I'm ruling out Cincinnati against Washington. But I'm with you. These were my 3 top favorite. And I was at one point actually considering this game, but no longer.
Wow. So okay, yeah. So was I. Very, very seriously. Look, Washington is not a great team. Washington should have lost last week against the New York Giants if the field goal kicker did not get hurt for the Giants. They would have lost. Here's the couple things that scare me about this game with Cincinnati that ultimately decided that I was not going to go with Cincinnati. 3 strikes and you're out. The first strike, Cincinnati's run defense this year has been bad. They've given up 319 rushing yards in 2 games. And Washington has a great rushing attack. They've run the ball for 353 yards in 2 games. That's because they have 3 people that can run the ball. Their quarterback, Austin Eckler, and Robinson. So that's strike number 1. Strike number 2, you already said, which is their future value. Comparing these 3 games, Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati, by far the one that has the most future value is Cincinnati. And then finally, strike 3, and I think it is a huge one. All indications look like T. Higgins is going to miss another game. Cincinnati is their offense terribly misses T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow misses him. So I was impressed that Cincinnati bounced back and almost beat Kansas City, a much better effort than they did in week 1 against New England. But I'm going to wait in Cincinnati when hopefully they have Higgins. All right.
Who are you going to take off the board next?
Okay. Well. I'm going to be disappointed if we agree, but this was my pick up to yesterday. And so I am eliminating. I am not picking your Las Vegas Raiders, which are 7-point favorites over Carolina. And there are 2 reasons why I'm not picking Las Vegas. One, Carolina can't stop the run. That's been one of their biggest problems this year. They allowed, but partially because they lost their Pro Bowl defensive tackle, Derek Brown. But they've given up in week 1 to New Orleans 180 rushing yards. In week 2 against the Chargers, which we both talked about, that the Chargers can expose them, 219 rushing yards. The problem is, maybe you can tell me, and I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'll go to my second reason in a minute. What is going on with the Las Vegas Raiders rushing attack? I've always been part of their mentality of running the ball. So they went in week 1 against the Chargers, 22 carries for 71 yards. That's 3.2 yards a carry. That's all running backs. But last week, it was even worse. 17 carries for 27 yards, Michael. 1.6 yards a carry. If that was a GPA, you'd flunk out, right? What's going on here with the Vegas rushing attack?
Well, yeah, to be fair, a lot of that is Baltimore. I think Baltimore was a very capable defense, and it is a little bit of a miracle that the Raiders won that game. But yeah, so Zamir White is not being used, I think, well. Antonio Pierce is a much more defensive-minded coach, and I think he's putting a lot of his eggs in that basket. So I do think they'll hopefully wisen up and take advantage. But now I'm going to get to you. Let you give number 2, because I think it's the same thing I was going to get to.
Just a quick question, though, I want you to ask. Zamir White, as a fantasy owner of him, I know he has been struggling, but you've watched all the games. Is it Zamir White's fault? Is it the blocking's fault? Is it the coaching calls or play schemes? Why is he struggling so much?
Well, again, I think you got to acknowledge that they were playing against a very formidable defense in the Baltimore Ravens. I do think some of it is that offensive line, and I do think it is the scheming. The offensive scheming is I'm not impressed. I've been really disappointed with the play calling. And so you're right. This is the Raiders' DNA, and they're not using it. And this is the week for them to get it right. I think they will. But I'm afraid of your point number 2. Go ahead and say it.
My point number 2, and you probably get it, is that, look, another large reason Carolina has struggled this year is Bryce Young. Young is 2-16 as a starter. I watch Red Zone all the time. I've seen a lot of his highlights. He has misfired on wide receivers. Wide receivers have been wide open, and he just hasn't seen them. And I have actually a lot of respect for Andy Dalton. I think he's probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He's experienced, and they've got some quality experience weapons to utilize on offense with Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen. So that scares me. That's what made me make the change off Carolina. So I'll throw it to you. Those are my concerns.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly with you. Before they made this announcement, I was thinking, man, this is nice. I'm going to pick my Raiders finally this year, because Bryce Young is even worse than Lamar Jackson at dealing with pressure. The Raiders obviously exploited that this last week against Lamar Jackson. And Bryce Young would have been even easier pickings for really a pretty good Raiders defense. But Andy Dalton, I think, is more experienced. He's probably rusty, and I could be wrong. This might be another blowout. I think if I was going to bet this game, I'd bet the spread as opposed to just that the Raiders are going to win, because I just think that the money is too good to go that way, or not so good to go the other way. But I'm with you. I'm a little bit afraid of this game. I think the Raiders are going to win, but I'm not going to pick them. So I'm with you. And that means that there's two choices left. And I bet we're going to completely agree, which is really embarrassing, but oh well, because I'm taking Cleveland off the board as well. I definitely think the Giants are bad. I'm not sure what's going on with their place kicker, but I'm sure they're going to figure that out this week. They had a few things clicking on offense. Daniel Jones looked a little bit better this week, but their defense didn't. And Cleveland is a much better defensive team than the Commanders are. And this game is in Cleveland. So I think all things are pointing towards Cleveland winning this game. And Cleveland really doesn't have much future value. So I don't blame you if you pick Cleveland in this game, but I just like the other game better. So you tell me a little bit about whether you agree with that, and then you can reveal your pick. And I guess I've already revealed mine.
Yeah, we agree, unfortunately. I was looking for an argument with you, but yeah, I was considering Cleveland again also at one time, but because I have very, very little respect for the New York Giants. I couldn't get over the Cleveland loss to Dallas. They got blown out in week 1. So that just scared me. The especially after seeing what happened to the Dallas Cowboys in week 2. In fact, for week 2, I'm changing their name if it's okay with you, Michael. It's called the Alice Cowboys because there was no D in Dallas. I mean, but they apparently they held down this Cleveland offense in week 1. So yeah, and I don't know what is going on with Amari Cooper. I mean, he had such a connection with Watson. Watson continues to be a decent fantasy back because of the way he quarterback basically runs, but I'm still not sold with my Survivor life having him on there. So, and I was impressed with Malik Neighbors and some of the things that he has been doing. So, yeah, do I think Cleveland will win and should win? Yes, but I'm not as confident in them as my Survivor pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm so shocked. They don't have a very necessarily a high pick popularity, but that is where I am going to go the Tampa Bay Bucs. So since this is your pick too, I want to go back and forth, but I'm going to just pick on Denver, and I'm going to pick on Denver's offense. So that's the only thing I'm going to talk about right now. Okay. Denver's offense is terrible. Terrible. Let's first talk about their running game. Okay. Well, first of all, their offense has only scored 20 and 6 points this year against Seattle and Pittsburgh, respectively. And their run game has been dismal. Against Seattle, 18 carries for 50 yards. You could probably think, can't get worse than that. Oh, yeah, it can. 14 carries for 23 yards against Pittsburgh. So you say, well, it won't get any worse than that in week 3. Yeah, it will, because their starting right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, is out. So that is going to really hurt their run game. And Michael, if you tell me then they have to rely on Bo Nix, here's what I was so excited about, Michael. I was going to be able to pick against Bryce Young, but I don't have to. I get to pick against Bo Nix now. So I can't pick against Bryce Young since he's benched. So that's kind of the main reason I want to just Denver's offense. I have such little respect, but feel free to pile on Denver's offense or talk something about Tampa Bay or Denver's D that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix still is trying to figure out what is going on, and let's blame it on that run. You can't establish the run for a rookie quarterback, then good luck, right? I mean, I don't, that is what you really need. Not only do you need an offensive line who can protect your quarterback, but you need an offensive line that can establish the run for a rookie quarterback. And even though Bo Nix does have some running potential, that's not how he should be used. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not, Jalen Hurts. He doesn't really have that speed or capability like a Lamar Jackson. And so, that I know they probably are desperate for a win, but I don't think they're playing that way. I think they're going to kind of similar to what we've seen with, unfortunately, Bryce Young. I think that protecting the quarterback is important. In Tampa Bay, okay, let's be fair. They should have lost this game to Detroit. I think the yardage differential was huge in that game in favor of Detroit. Like 400, like more than twice, 460 yards to 216 yards in favor of Detroit. But Baker Mayfield has turned into a very good game manager. He's figured that out as his role. We've seen him come in and do it for the Rams one game, 2 seasons ago, last year for this team that made the playoffs. He looked great against the Commanders in week one, admittedly a poor defense. And he did what it took last week with weapons and with the defense that knew how to get stops when necessary. And I think that this is perfect recipe for a 3-0 start for Tampa Bay. They're at home against the Denver team that's not good. I respect Sean Payton. He's a good coach. But, when you don't have weapons, what are you going to do? And the most important thing to have at your avail is a quarterback. And, Bo Nix is a rookie, so I'm not going to pick on him right now. He's not ready yet. And I think, this is the one game where even if they've decided to bench the quarterback in favor of one of their other ones, one of which is Zach Wilson, I don't think I would change my vote here. I think I feel pretty good about going with Tampa Bay. They don't have a lot of future value. They do have Carolina twice in the distant future, but not enough of a reason to wait. This is my pick for week 3.
Bring on Zach Wilson. Sure, folks. All right. Go with your gut is what I always say. If you don't agree with us, go with your gut. But put in the comment section who you're going with and why you're going with that team. It's not enough just to say I'm going with that team or, hey, I don't like Tampa Bay this week. Tell us who you do like and why. That was after we got a lot of heat in the comment section about our Charger pick. So they got me second guessing us. So and Michael, it was an easy win. I love that. My heart really likes it when it's not a stressful week. All right, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Here are 2 videos we think that you'll enjoy.